Colonel Marcus Hartwell adjusted his headset and glanced dismissively at the young woman monitoring communications. Staff Sergeant Chen is just our intel analyst, he told the visiting Pentagon officials. Good with computers, but she's never seen real combat. We keep her safely behind the wire where she belongs. 27 minutes later, Chen would single-handedly eliminate an entire enemy patrol that had surrounded their forward operating base, using nothing but a borrowed rifle and skills that would rewrite military doctrine. Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen sat quietly at her workstation in Forward Operating Base Viper, her dark brown eyes scanning multiple monitors, displaying enemy movement patterns across the Kandahar province. At 28, she possessed an unremarkable appearance that made her nearly invisible in the testosterone-heavy environment of the FOB. Average height, practical brown hair pulled back in regulation style, and a slender build that suggested she spent more time with keyboards than kettlebells. What her colleagues didn't know was that Chen had grown up on a ranch in Montana, where her grandfather, a Marine Corps sniper in Vietnam, had taught her to calculate wind drift at 0 yards before she could legally drive. Her father, a former Army Ranger turned hunting guide, had refined her skills until she could place shots with mathematical precision that defied conventional understanding. Chen, pull up the satellite feeds from grid squares 7, 4 through 8, 2, Colonel Hartwell ordered, barely glancing in her direction. We need enemy movement analysis for tomorrow's convoy route. Already compiled, sir, Chen replied, her voice steady and professional. She handed him a detailed report that included not just enemy positions, but calculated firing solutions and optimal engagement ranges that most officers wouldn't recognize for what they were. 17 confirmed enemy positions along the primary route, with suggested alternate pathways highlighted. Major Brooks, the FOB's operations officer, looked over Hartwell's shoulder at the report. Impressive detail work, Sergeant. Though I doubt you understand the tactical implications. Chen nodded respectfully. Just doing my job, sir. Applied mathematics and pattern analysis. What they didn't notice was how Chen's eyes tracked the terrain features on the monitors, automatically calculating ranges, elevation differences, and wind patterns with the unconscious precision of someone who had been trained to kill at distances most soldiers couldn't even see. The morning briefing proceeded with typical military efficiency. Captain Rodriguez, the company commander, outlined the mission parameters for the day's patrol. We've got reports of increased enemy activity in Sector 7-4 Delta. Intelligence suggests they're planning something significant. Chen cleared her throat softly. Sir, if our math pattern analysis indicates they're positioning for a coordinated attack on our supply convoys, the positioning is too precise for random insurgent activity. That's above your pay grade, Sergeant, Hartwell replied curtly. Stick to your computers. Understood, sir. But as the officers filed out, Chen continued studying the patterns. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her memory. Sarah, wars are won by those who see what others miss. The obvious target is rarely the real target. By 1,400 hours, the situation began deteriorating rapidly. 3 separate patrols reported contact with enemy forces, and communications with the forward outposts went silent. Chen monitored the radio traffic, her analytical mind processing the tactical situation faster than the combat officers around her. Contact, we're taking heavy fire from multiple positions. The radio crackled with the voice of Sergeant First Class Morrison from Alpha Team. Request immediate support. Colonel Hartwell moved to the Tactical Operations Center, studying the digital displays. How many enemy fighters are we looking at? Difficult to assess, sir, came the reply. They're using coordinated fire and movement. Professional-level tactics. Chen's fingers flew across her keyboard, correlating radio reports with satellite imagery and signals intelligence. What she saw made her stomach tighten. Sir, They're not trying to overrun the patrols, they're hurting them. What? Hartwell turned toward her. The enemy positions are designed to funnel our patrols toward Grid Square 7-4 Charlie. It's a kill zone, with overlapping fields of fire from elevated positions. Major Brooks studied Chen's analysis. Even if that's true, we don't have the assets to. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in 3 seconds later, but the damage was done. Through the reinforced windows, muzzle flashes lit up the perimeter like deadly fireflies. The FOB was under direct attack. All stations, we are under attack. Hartwell's voice boomed across the radio network. Enemy forces have breached the outer perimeter. Chen watched the tactical display as red symbols multiplied around their position. The enemy had used the patrol deployments to identify FOB Viper's defensive weak points, then struck with coordinated precision that spoke of extensive planning and professional training. "Sir, we've lost communications with 3 guard towers," reported communications specialist Davis, his voice tight with tension. "Enemy snipers have taken positions on hills 247 and 312, approximately 800 meters northeast and northwest respectively. The situation deteriorated with mathematical precision. Enemy mortar rounds began falling within the compound perimeter, forcing personnel into hardened shelters. Return fire from the remaining guard towers proved ineffective against enemy positions concealed among the rocky outcroppings. Colonel, we need immediate air support," urged Captain Rodriguez. "The enemy has us effectively surrounded." "Negative," Hartwell replied, studying the tactical situation. "Nearest close air support is 43 minutes out. We need to break their sniper overwatch before they can coordinate a final assault." Chen studied the ballistic computer display, calculating ranges and angles with unconscious ease. The enemy snipers had chosen their positions with professional competence, beyond the effective range of standard M4 carbines and M249 light machine guns, with excellent concealment and multiple escape routes. "Sir," Chen said quietly, "I could eliminate the sniper positions." The tactical operations center fell silent, except for the distant crack of incoming rifle fire. "Sergeant Chen," Major Brooks said slowly, "those positions are at 800-plus meter ranges. Our designated marksman can't make those shots in these conditions." Chen nodded toward the weapons rack, where a single M24 sniper weapon system sat unused at the FOB's designated marksman had been wounded in the initial attack. "With respect, sir, the M24 has an effective range of 900 meters with 118 LR ammunition. Environmental conditions are actually favorable: humidity at 62%, temperature 74 degrees Fahrenheit, wind speed 6 to 8 knots from the southwest." Colonel Hartwell stared at her. "Sergeant, that's mathematically impossible. You're talking about precision shots under combat stress against professional snipers who have the high ground advantage." "Sir, I understand the tactical requirements." Chen's voice remained calm, professional. "Physics, applied mathematics, and practice. You've never been in combat, Chen. This isn't a computer simulation." Through the reinforced windows, another volley of enemy sniper fire shattered the remaining perimeter lighting. In the darkness, muzzle flashes revealed at least 12 separate enemy positions, with the 2 primary sniper nests controlling the high ground. Chen moved to the weapons rack and lifted the M24, checking the scope settings and ammunition load with practiced efficiency. "Sir, request permission to engage enemy sniper positions from the roof access." "Absolutely not," Hartwell replied immediately. "I'm not sending a computer analyst into a firefight against professional combatants." "Colonel," Chen said quietly, "the probability calculations don't approach 0, they approach certainty." Major Brooks grabbed Chen's shoulder. "Sergeant, those snipers have been engaging our people for 27 minutes without missing." They're not insurgents with AK-47s. They're trained professionals with precision weapons. Chen nodded respectfully. I understand, sir, but so am I. The tactical radio erupted with urgent traffic. Tower 3 is down. Repeat, Tower 3 is down. Enemy snipers have eliminated our overwatch positions. In the sudden silence that followed, Chen checked the M24's scope one final time. Sir, with your permission. Colonel Hartwell studied the young woman he had dismissed as a computer analyst. Something in her calm confidence, the way she handled the precision rifle with unconscious competence, made him reconsider his assumptions. Chen, he said slowly, where exactly did you learn to shoot? Montana, sir. Family tradition. Chen moved through the darkened FOB with practiced stealth, the M24 slung across her back. The roof access ladder led to a position that provided clear sightlines to both enemy sniper nests, while offering concealment among the communications equipment. She settled into a prone firing position and began her calculations. Range to hill, 247, 847 meters. Range to hill, 312, 823 meters. Wind speed, 7 knots southwest, gusting to 9. Temperature, 70, 2 degrees. Humidity, 64%. Her grandfather's voice whispered in her memory. Feel the wind, Sarah. The rifle is just a tool. Your mind is the weapon. Chen adjusted the scope to 8x magnification and began systematically scanning the enemy positions. Through years of hunting experience, she had developed an ability to spot the subtle differences that revealed human presence, the geometric lines of manufactured equipment, the unnatural shadows of tactical positions, the barely perceptible movement that betrayed a sniper's breathing pattern. Overwatch. This is Analyst, she whispered into her throat mic. I have visual on enemy sniper positions. Chen, what the hell are you doing up there? Colonel Hartwell's voice crackled through her earpiece. Engaging target, sir. Target 1. Hill 247, northeast position. Range, 847 meters. Elevation difference, 43 meters. She could see the muzzle flash signature from the enemy sniper's last shot, approximately 15 degrees left of a distinctive boulder formation. Chen controlled her breathing, finding the natural respiratory pause that would provide the steadiest shooting platform. The crosshairs settled on a position 12 inches above and 8 inches left of where the enemy muzzle flash had appeared. The M24 fired with a sharp crack that echoed across the compound. 2.73 seconds later, the distinctive sound of a precision rifle fell silent from Hill 247. Confirmed kill, Chen reported calmly. Range, 847 meters. The Tactical Operations Center erupted with disbelief. Unfucking believable, someone whispered over the radio. Target 2. Hill 312, northwest position. This sniper had been more cautious, firing from deeper concealment. Chen studied the terrain through her scope, looking for the subtle indicators that would reveal his exact position. Theory a shadow that was too geometric, positioned behind a cluster of rocks that provided both concealment and fields of fire toward the FOB. Range, 823 meters. Wind had shifted slightly, now 8 knots from the southwest. Chen adjusted her aim point and controlled her breathing. The second shot followed 17 seconds after the first. The enemy fire from Hill 312 ceased immediately. 2 confirmed kills, Chen reported. Primary Overwatch positions neutralized. But she wasn't finished. Through her scope, Chen identified 3 additional enemy positions that had been directing coordinated fire against the FOB's defensive perimeters. These fighters were using standard AK-47, variants less precise than the sniper rifles, but still effective at their current ranges. Position 3, 623 meters southeast of the compound. The fighter was using a damaged concrete wall for cover, exposing himself periodically to engage targets within the FOB. Chen's third shot eliminated him before he could fire again. Position 4, 734 meters due north. This fighter had established a position among a cluster of abandoned vehicles, using them as both concealment and rest for his weapon. The fourth shot ended his threat permanently. Position 5, 891 meters northwest, the longest range engagement. The fighter was positioned on a ridgeline, believing himself beyond effective small arms range. Chen calculated the extreme range shot with mathematical precision. Bullet drop at 891 meters. Approximately 8.7 mils. Wind drift, 2.3 mils left. Coriolis effect. Negligible at this range and bearing. The fifth shot reached out across the darkness and found its target with surgical precision. 5 confirmed kills, Chen reported. Enemy overwatch eliminated. Range, 620, 3 to 890, 1 meters. All threats neutralized. The radio silence that followed lasted nearly 30 seconds. Chen. Colonel Hartwell's voice was quiet, almost reverent. What's your background? Grew up on a ranch, sir. Grandfather was Force Recon, Vietnam era. Father was 75th Ranger Regiment. They taught me to shoot before they taught me to drive. Major Brooks keyed his radio. Sergeant Chen, I've never seen shooting like that. Ever. Just doing my job, sir, Chen replied, beginning the methodical process of cleaning and securing the M24. Physics and applied mathematics. From her position on the roof, Chen conducted a systematic scan of the surrounding terrain. The elimination of the primary sniper positions had broken the enemy's coordinated attack plan, but she wanted to ensure no additional threats remained undetected. Movement 1, 247 meters to the east. A group of enemy fighters attempting to withdraw from their positions. At that range, they were beyond the effective engagement envelope of standard infantry weapons, but not beyond the M24's capabilities. Chen settled back into her firing position and began engaging targets of opportunity with methodical precision. Each shot was calculated with mathematical exactness, each engagement measured in seconds rather than minutes. By the time close air support arrived 43 minutes later, Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen had eliminated 11 enemy combatants from ranges between 623 and 247 meters, breaking up a coordinated attack that could have overrun FOB Viper. The after-action review took place in the FOB's main briefing room, with representatives from higher headquarters participating via secure video conference. Colonel Hartwell stood before a tactical map marked with Chen's engagement positions, shaking his head in quiet amazement. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "tonight we witnessed combat marksmanship that frankly defies conventional understanding. Staff Sergeant Chen engaged 11 enemy combatants from ranges up to 247 meters, with an 11 for 11 success rate under combat conditions." General Patricia Morrison, speaking from Bagram Airfield, leaned forward on the video screen. "Colonel, confirm those range measurements." "Confirmed by GPS coordinates and laser rangefinder, ma'am. Average engagement range, 847 meters. All confirmed kills with single-shot accuracy." Chen sat quietly in the back of the room, having changed back into her standard ACU uniform. To casual observation, she appeared to be the same unremarkable intelligence analyst who had been dismissed as good with computers just hours earlier. "Sergeant Chen," General Morrison addressed her directly, "where exactly did you acquire these skills?" "Family training, ma'am. My grandfather served with 3rd Force Reconnaissance Company during Vietnam, taught me precision shooting from age 12. My father served with 3rd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, and continued my tactical education. Major Brooks studied a classified file that had just arrived via secure transmission. Ma'am, according to this background investigation, Sergeant Chen's grandfather was Staff Sergeant William Chen, recipient of 2 Silver Stars and a Navy Cross for long-range reconnaissance missions. Her father was Sergeant First Class David Chen, who served with distinction in Somalia and Desert Storm. The pieces began falling into place. Chen's unremarkable appearance, her assignment to intelligence analysis rather than combat operations, her systematic approach to tactical problem-solving designed to conceal capabilities that would rewrite military doctrine if properly understood. Sergeant Chen, General Morrison said carefully, "Have you received formal military marksmanship training?" "No, ma'am. All training was civilian, conducted on private property in Montana. My official military occupational specialty is intelligence analysis." Captain Rodriguez, who had witnessed the entire engagement from the Tactical Operations Center, shook his head slowly. "Ma'am, I've served with some of the finest marksmen in the Army. I've never seen anything approaching this level of precision under combat stress." Chen remained silent, understanding that her demonstration had revealed capabilities that might attract unwanted attention from higher headquarters. Her grandfather had warned her about this possibility. Exceptional abilities often came with exceptional responsibilities. "The official after-action report," Colonel Hartwell announced, "will reflect that enemy forces broke contact and withdrew under pressure from close air support. The precise details of tonight's defensive actions will remain classified at the secret level." General Morrison nodded approvingly. "Agreed. Sergeant Chen, you'll remain in your current assignment for operational security reasons. However, I suspect we'll be having additional conversations about your background and capabilities." As the briefing concluded, Chen found herself approached by soldiers who had previously barely acknowledged her existence. Their attitudes had undergone a fundamental transformation from dismissive indifference to something approaching awe. "Sergeant Chen," said Specialist Martinez, one of the younger infantry soldiers, "that was the most incredible shooting I've ever witnessed." "How long have you been?" "Just doing my job, Specialist," Chen interrupted gently. "Applied mathematics and practice." But the word had already begun spreading throughout the FOB and beyond. Within 72 hours, requests for Chen's service began arriving from special operations units, sniper schools, and tactical development commands across the Army. Chen declined them all, preferring to remain in her analyst position, where she could serve effectively without the scrutiny that came with official recognition as a precision marksman. 6 months later, the engagement at FOB Viper became a classified case study in unconventional tactical solutions. Military doctrine was quietly updated to reflect the possibility that exceptional capabilities might exist in unexpected places, and recruitment protocols were modified to better identify personnel with specialized civilian backgrounds. Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen continued her work as an intelligence analyst, monitoring enemy movements and providing tactical assessments with the same quiet professionalism she had always demonstrated. But now, when she offered tactical suggestions, officers listened with considerably more attention. Colonel Hartwell, who had once dismissed her as just our intel analyst, became one of her strongest advocates. In his efficiency report, he wrote, "Sergeant Chen represents the finest tradition of military service: quiet professionalism, exceptional competence, and the courage to act when action is required." The M24 sniper rifle was returned to the weapons rack, where it remained until the next emergency. But everyone who had witnessed that night understood that in the hands of the right person, even the most sophisticated weapons were merely tool sand, that true capability often existed in the most unexpected places. As Chen had learned from her grandfather during those long afternoons on the Montana ranch, Wars are won by those who see what others miss, Sarah. And sometimes, what they miss is right in front of them. The enemy forces that had surrounded FOB Viper that night had learned, too late, that they had overlooked the most dangerous person in the compound, a quiet intelligence analyst, who understood that precision shooting was simply physics, applied mathematics, and practice. And in the months that followed, whenever young soldiers expressed doubt about their own capabilities or felt underestimated by their superiors, veterans who had served at FOB Viper would tell them about the night when an analyst with a borrowed rifle proved that extraordinary capability can exist anywhere, waiting for the moment when it's truly needed. Subscribe if you believe that true strength is often found in the most unexpected places.